Good afternoon. I'm Marty Martin, president of Drake University, and it's my pleasure to both welcome and thank you for participating in our second annual National Summit on Civility in Local Government. Drake University is proud to partner with the Iowa League of Cities and the Greater Des Moines Partnership in putting this summit on. I hope that you have found the summit both encouraging and rewarding, and that it will be useful to you as you go back to the work of helping better your communities. Certainly, we live in what I would characterize as an age of discontent. There is embedded in that an incivility that is disruptive and, of course, unhelpful. I see it in my own work too often, in those that I engage with in trying to lead this great institution, and I'm not intending to suggest that that is all the time by any stretch of the imagination, but it is certainly more than it used to be. Again, coming back to this notion of an age of discontent. And I'm sure you've seen it in your own work. Indeed, it's the reason we have this summit in the first place. And when I think about that incivility and its manifestation in the work that you do, there are a number of things I worry about. One, I just worry about your ability to do the work. The disruption that incivility, that disruption that it causes, and how that impacts your ability to go through the things and to get the things done that you need to do to make the communities that we live in better. I worry about the impact of that incivility on how others perceive the work that you do, how it might impact their trust in that work, in that process. And of course, I worry about the impact of that civility and that disruption, and particularly when it rises to more extreme levels, on the message or incentive that it sends to you and to others to take on the responsibilities that you bear. We need great public servants. We need them at all levels of government, but particularly at that local level of government, where the work that you do impacts lives every single day. And I worry about that incivility, this discontent, disincentivizing you and others to kind of take on that responsibility, to take on that mantle of serving your communities. And so there is a lot of work to be done here. And again, it is why we have this National Summit. And I know that you've been talking today about, well, how do you address this? And it's something that we attend to here at Drake, both in our own work as well as in the services that we provide to others. And we all are looking for these strategies to shape a culture of civility, strategies like intentional relationship building. Of course, it's always harder, at least in most instances, it's harder to be angry at someone, to be uncivil to someone when you have a relationship with them, because that relationship itself can build trust, and that trust is an antidote to the incivility. Of course, we have to create ground rules for engagement, both as a matter of procedure and as a matter of substance, making sure that we, in our leadership roles, are always being very clear in our communication, because that any lack of clarity itself can create distrust, which itself can serve incivility. And being very self-aware of how we're both hopefully disencouraging that incivility and not encouraging it, and make sure that when it does occur that we're speaking to it. Even if we can tolerate it, there are others around us who perhaps can't, and who maybe don't have the voice that we have to speak up and hold those accountable who are misbehaving in that form. So always being mindful of the bigger picture, that is why we're called to serve, what we're trying to accomplish, recognizing that this incivility gets in the way of that, and being very intentional about addressing it, and both in our own conduct and the conduct of others around us. At Drake University, we, again, do take this seriously, both in our own work, but also in the way that we reach out and serve others. And that's in part why we're doing and holding this National Summit. And we do so through the offices of the Robert D. and Billie Ray Center and the Olson Center for Public Democracy, because we recognize that we do have a contribution to make here, and thus, with the opportunity to make a contribution comes the responsibility to do so. And you've interacted with my colleagues who lead those entities today, and I know that they've been sharing with you their strategies and practices for how to create a more civil, respectful space. So, clear and transparent communication, leadership autonomy that is rooted in mission, inspiration, objectives, and measures for accountability. Those are the tools that we deploy, both internally and through the Robert D. and Billie Ray Center, and those that we touch in the Olson Center for Public Democracy, in order for us to be able to come together and have those At times, tough conversations, of course, but they don't have to be uncivil conversations. But to have those tough conversations so that we can arrive at better policies, better practices, better outcomes for those that we are called to serve. So we will, as we have throughout the program, sharing practices and strategies for cultivating civility, certainly addressing issues of respect, decorum, kindness, and etiquette, and finding ways that we can both ourselves and encourage others to disagree without being disagreeable. So again, thank you so much for participating in this summit. Thank you to our keynote speakers, those who really lend their expertise to this effort. And thank you to my colleagues who worked so hard in partnership with the Iowa League of Cities and the Greater Des Moines Partnership to pull this summit off. Again, I hope you've had a great experience, and I hope you feel both better prepared and maybe anticipating a little more joy in your life in that work of transforming lives and strengthening communities. Thank you.